هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا
this morning. Let me first tell you about the guests on the show. We have Debbie Mergen. She is the owner of Camelot Spa or Camelot Spa Enterprises. I think it is Enterprises. We'll get the correction from her in a minute or two. We're also going to be talking to someone that has travelled from Kinross to be on the show this morning. I'm very excited about that interview as well. And that is a Hajj Memories program. We're going to be talking to Naira Abed. She too is going to have a giveaway. She's written a book about her journey and we're giving away a few of those on the show. And we'll be wrapping up with something called Bitcoin. Jacques Assassin will be here to talk to us about Bitcoin. What on earth is it? Does it make sense at all? Why should we be investing our money in something called Bitcoin? All of that on the show. Lines are open throughout the show. I'm now going to interview and introduce Debbie Mergen, and even before we get to the actual interview, she's going to tell us about the giveaway. Debbie heads the Camelot Spa Enterprises, and I think she's an amazing woman. I attended one of her talks, Women's Day talks, and I was blown away. Debbie, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on the show.
My pleasure entirely, and quite a journey you've been through.
Yeah.
We will be unpacking it on the show this morning, but before we start, tell us about the giveaway, which is worth 5,000 rands, and that's what we're giving away this morning on the show. What exactly is this giveaway?
So the giveaway is a voucher. One of the businesses that I own is Camelot International, which is a health and skincare training group. We registered with the Department of Higher Education, as well as an international body called SEDESCO. We run courses in skincare, manicure, pedicure, waxing, body treatments, health, wellness, nutrition. And we have just launched e-learning so that you can study the theoretical aspects from the comfort of your home in your own time or after work. And then you would come in for the practical subjects at our branches countrywide. We have 6 branches countrywide where you can go in and then you would study the practical aspects of whichever course you chose. So the 5,000 Rand voucher is towards any of the subjects e-learning. You might be already qualified and want to do spa management. That's one of the subjects you can study online. Then you don't need to come in for the practical. So it's to further your education, and in light of Women's Month, we want to empower women, and what better way to do it?
Thank you indeed. So for you to qualify, you need to pop an email to us and give us a one-pager, a motivation, to tell us why you believe you should be qualifying for this prize. It is worth 5,000 rands, courtesy of Camelot Spa. So please do, think about it carefully before you put pen to paper. Debbie, thank you indeed. I think that's amazing. It might just kickstart someone's career into something as huge as Camelot Spa. Are you known as Camelot Spa Enterprises or just Camelot Spas?
No, it's the Camelot Group is the main company. Then we have Camelot Spa, which are the actual facilities in 5-star resorts, hotels, etc., where we run health spas in wellness. Then we have another company called Camelot International, which is the schools, whereby we only train in health and wellness. And then I have another company called Marine Spa Distributors, whereby we import a product from France that we sell to the industry in the market. And we also have our own brand called Sea Spa, which is an aroma wellness skincare product, skin and body care product.
Spas are huge business these days, simply because people are aware of the fact that they need to look good to feel good. It may be you need to feel good to look good, or vice versa. But people are, even men, are investing in themselves, their looks, their health, and their well-being. And this is truly the way to go as far as your well-being is concerned. Right. And I know it starts with, obviously, proper and healthy eating as well.
Correct. Well, today, because everyone's living such a stressed environment, and I think everything's sped up, we're all working harder, we're playing harder. I think the type of foods we're eating today are not like we used to eat years ago. And illness is a lot bigger. So there's a more stress to look after your wellness, especially also for executives, people at work, their productivity, their presenteeism. You know, you might be at work, but you're sick, so you're not present. So there's a huge emphasis to keep well, and that means balance. That means eating well, sleeping well, your emotional, your physical, your spiritual wellness. And that balance is what creates a good employee. And people then need to take time out. And sometimes people might read, they might exercise. That's their version of time out. But also looking after your skin and body, I think for confidence as well. In the corporate world and the business world, you have to be confident and you have to look the part. So if you feel good about yourself, you're going to project that image.
Absolutely.
And by going to a spa, looking after your skin, having your nails done, for the men being well groomed, good hands, all that leads to a feeling of well-being, confidence, and most importantly, your physical health.
Now, the reason I have you here today is I attended a Women's Day event and you gave a talk there. You spoke about being an entrepreneur,
yes,
and a very successful one at that. And congratulations on all of your achievements.
Thank you.
But of course, your start and your growth in this direction was a very long, arduous one. And you took us, in the talk, you took us right back to your childhood, which was really a very, very difficult childhood. And you, in the talk, you also said that had it not been for that shaky start in your life, you wouldn't be the person sitting here in front of me today. Tell us about just how difficult it was for you as a child. And what were you thinking during that time when you were so neglected and, you know, shriveling away in a little corner? Did you kind of tell yourself at that time that I'm going to be somebody one day or someday?
No, I think at the time, I think already losing my birth father at the age of about 7-8 months, so I never knew a father. I think, but for me, going to boarding school, leaving my mom at the age of 5, I think that probably was emotionally the hardest thing. At the time, you go through emotional aspects of abandonment, insecurity, etc. But I don't think you really internalize it or know what it is. But then as you go along, I think your drive, because of that, so that drive to be independent, that drive for me to be the best I can be and to show that I am good enough, I think it was that drive that really got me to where I was today, because I wanted to be the best that I could be. I wanted to show people, hey, you know, I can do this. So no, along the way, I never ever knew this is where I would land up. But I think that fierce independence, to be financially secure, to be okay on my own, I think that was the driving force from my childhood experiences.
What did boarding school do for your spirit? Did it break it or make it?
I think it broke that connection with my mother, that abandonment. You know, why was I here? Why was I on my own? You know, being so young.
Did you feel less loved?
Definitely. You definitely feel less loved. And I think having my own children and being able to nurture them and just see the joy of a family unit and how important it is. Probably I even overcompensated in giving so much love and giving so much of myself because I never had it as a child. But, you know, if you look back, I'm fine today because of it. So was I disadvantaged? No. Mm-hmm. But I think it's what you do with it. I think with anything in life, lots of people, I always say, and along the way, I always say everyone has a story, and it's what we do with that story, and it's the lessons, and turning it into something good, because you can take anything negative and feel sorry for yourself and make a meal of it, and not turn it into something good. And fortunately, I did manage to, so I'm grateful for that.
And here you are heading up Camelot Spa Group. Amazing. Let's take an ad break. We'll be back with you in a minute or two, and we're going to talk about the long, hard ride or drive leading up to Camelot Spa Group. Debbie Mergen is my guest this morning, and of course you've heard the good news. We're giving away compliments of Debbie and Camelot Spa Group, a 5,000 Rand voucher, and that will enable you to study online or possibly even go into one of the spas to do a practical course. And we have given you the drill. We've told you to send us a one-page motivational letter to tell us why you believe you should qualify for the prize. So do stay watching for the rest of the show. Debbie Mergen, the owner of Camelot Spas, is our guest this morning. She's going to talk to us about entrepreneurship, how to get started, why she got started in this business, and of course, you do know the good news. We're giving away a 5,000 Rand voucher to study at one of the spas or online at Camelot Spas. Debbie, how did your journey start here? I know you went to Stellenbosch to study. Did you always have an interest in the beauty industry?
From a young age, I think I was 15, I loved health, beauty, everything a teenager loves. I also loved art, and I was good at art. So I either wanted to be an artist or go into health and skincare, but I realized to be an artist, you've got to be outstanding, and I wasn't outstanding. It took me a long time to achieve anything that was outstanding. So health and wellness it was, and from the minute I got to Stellenbosch, studying my passion, I excelled. I wasn't an academic student at school. I was good at all the extramural activities and loved school, but just didn't love the academics. And when I found my passion, I became top of my class. I became an academic, which is funny. I got amazing marks because I really was loving what I was studying. So for me, that's important for people to find their passion. Some people are fortunate enough to find it straight away. Other people don't know and then stumble upon it, later down the line. But for me, it's follow their passion.
How long did it take you after you left university to build up your business, your empire, Camelot Spa Group? It's huge. Wherever you go, you see Camelot, and it's synonymous with high quality beauty care and spa treatments.
Well, I started my business with 1,700 Rand.
Ooh,
that's what I started.
How many years ago?
Nearly 27 years ago, 1985. So started my business and started with 4 students. It was the school was the first business. And that started growing and growing. And really, the success of the business was just absolute hard work, dedication, commitment, making sure everything is done 110%. I had a very good eye for what was right and what wasn't right. So I never cut corners, just worked really, really hard. I was fortunate enough that my husband supported me through a period of time where I couldn't draw a salary because I was putting everything back into the business. And I think that also probably has been one of my reasons for success is I put everything back into my business. So I've never stripped the business of what it needs, and all businesses need good cash flow, good financial stability, hard work, commitment, and of course, amazing staff. And I've been fortunate enough to have the ability to employ really good staff, so identify them, nurture them. I'm the type of entrepreneur where I'll hand over an area of the business and allow the person to fly with that area of the business, and I'm only there to give them support, guidance, mentoring if need be. And that's really worked for me. So I haven't tried to control everything.
challenges? Because of course, I mean, you've built up the business over a long period of time, 20 odd years, and you are a huge success story today. You go around giving talks, motivating and inspiring young people who are wanting to get not only into the beauty business, any business, because I think business principles are basic, whether whether you're in the beauty trade, whether you're in the food trade, etc. But the fundamentals are basic. What are the challenges you encountered, and what is the best piece of advice you can give to up-and-coming entrepreneurs?
So I think my biggest challenge was being female at the time, young, and not having the financial resources. So starting with no money and having to raise money to build a business. And I realized when my business started growing, I wanted people to take me seriously. So I realized that I wanted the school to look absolutely amazing, the spas, and obviously that takes a lot of money. So my first building I bought, I needed to raise funds for that. And as a female, it's got better in time, but it's tough to raise money. And as a business grows, you're continually needing to raise funds, and it's hard for men and women today. The banks, because of the economy, so that's probably
the sleepless nights.
Yeah,
I'm
fortunate that somehow I managed to switch off. I'm not a worrier, and I think that's to my benefit. I kind of deal with my issues and my problems, but I don't kind of worry and procrastinate about them all the time. I just deal with them as they come. And I think also the ability to deal with problems, what's important, what's not, as things come, and also realizing business is about problems. Business is not even flow.
Right?
Yeah, and once you accept that and just learn the ability as issues come along and problems come along, deal with them immediately, face them head on, and move on. So you don't have to sit and go back and think about it. It's the problem's happened. What can I do to fix it? And let's move on. And that's helped me significantly.
Now, we're having more and more women coming into their own. We have a lot of cottage industries. We have a lot of work-at-home moms, which is the way I think the world is moving forward. You also have a lot of these home spas springing up all over the place. You told me off air just now that you don't see it as a threat because there's a place in the sun for everybody, and if you put in the effort, you're going to reap the benefits. But what sort of advice would you give to them? You know, here's a mom who's got 2 little kids, maybe she's raising, and she, working from home works for her. It addresses all her needs. But for her to be successful and for her to be an ongoing business, what do you say to her?
Well, firstly, it's health and wellness is an amazing industry for a woman. You're giving to people, you're making people feel good about themselves. So whether you do it in a health spa, which is in a beautiful hotel, or you're doing it in the space of your home, it makes no difference. You're still giving of yourself. For me, the advice I would give is to always be professional. So whether the setups at home or the setups in a business shopping center, that it looks the part, that you consider your client when they walk in your home, the experience. So, not dogs barking and children running in and out, and, that the room is set up professionally so that when you enter into that space, it doesn't matter where it is, it's a space of relaxation. It's a space of professionalism. And our industry is very tactile too. It's about the senses.
Oh, absolutely.
So the smell, the touch, visually how it looks, texture of your towels, hygiene, cleanliness, how you treat the client. So it doesn't matter where you are, it's how you execute that. And if you always remember that, and for me,
it's an experience for a woman to go to a spa.
Correct, 100%. And it's your time out, whether it's to look after a bad skin or just your regular monthly facial or even to do your nails. If you're considering your client the whole time, what's that experience like while I'm doing whatever it might be, even if it's a torturous wax, or a laser treatment, you still need to, my client's uncomfortable, how can I make her feel more comfortable? So if she's having a wax and it's on a heated bed well, it's in winter and I'm ensuring that she's made warm. It's, you know, it's going to make
little things,
that experience that much better. So attention to detail is really important, crucial, and keeping it professional no matter where you are. And then people will come back to you and they'll enjoy the experience.
What are the risks of being in this industry?
I suppose like any business, there are financial risks if you don't manage your finances properly, you know, which is really important. Sometimes a lot of people, even if they're working from home, they won't consider that area of my house, or if it's a cottage, there's an expense allocated to that. There's water, lights. So they kind of think, because I'm at home and I'm paying a bond, or my husband's paying a bond, there isn't an expense. You have to look at it like a business. So you've got a rental expense, you've got an expense of cleaning it, you've got an expense of all your products and consumables, your laundry. And sometimes women, because they're working from home, will charge cheaper prices, thinking clients will come to them because they're cheaper. But actually they're doing the treatments at a loss because they haven't costed properly what it's costing them, their time. So maybe they're doing it for the love, which is wonderful, but in the end, everyone needs to reap a reward of their efforts.
And would you say to people who are passionate about this line of work that there is room, there's lots of opportunities, and if that's the route you want to go, follow your heart?
Absolutely. It's an industry. I always say if you're going to study to be, for example, a secretary, that's what a secretary you're going to be. But in our industry, health and wellness, there's so many avenues. There's opportunity to travel on board ship, being a therapist on board ship.
Wow.
There's opportunity to work in the medical side if you want to be a medical esthetician. Today, anti-aging is so big, working with a plastic surgeon. If you're good at writing, you could become a beauty journalist or a stylist. If you love sales, you could go into product sales and create your own brand and your own line.
So the sky's the limit.
So it's an incredible industry.
And we've come to the end of the interview. Once again, just remind our viewers about the amazing prize that you're giving away to us.
So Camelot International, which is our health and skincare training group in health and wellness, we're giving away a 5,000 Rand voucher towards any e-learning courses, which will then allow them to decide if they want to study manicure, pedicure, waxing, or skincare treatments, or body care. They want to get a certificate or a diploma qualification. They can put that money towards their qualification or just use it for the online studying, spa management, so that it can culminate in them getting a qualification and hopefully one day being a successful businesswoman.
Like yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed. Lovely story, lovely prize, wonderful talking to you. And I'm hoping to talk to you again sometime soon on a totally different matter. Go well, and you look gorgeous.
Thank you.
That was Debbie Merchant from Camelot Spa Group talking to us about the beauty industry. And of course, as you've heard, a 5,000 Rand voucher for an e-learning course with a Camelot Group. And you do know that you'll have to send us a motivational letter to tell us why you think you should qualify for that prize. Still to come on the program, Naira Abed to talk about her Hajj memories and the book she's written. And we'll also be talking to the people from Bitcoin. Why should we be excited about Bitcoin? Well, we'll hear what they have to say, but first an ad break. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, welcome back. And of course you do know that for the past 2 days we've been sharing stories of Hajj, memories of Hajj. And in this segment of the show today on Let's Talk, we have a lovely young lady, Naira Abed, who's going to share her memories with us. And she's also going to give away these books. So if you're interested in receiving this little booklet which she has written after her Hajj journey, please call in. You don't have to make a comment on air. Just call in and leave your name and number with the producers, and we'll make certain that we get the books off to you. And don't forget, if you want to qualify for the gift voucher, the beauty gift voucher for Camelot Spas, all you need to do is send us a motivational letter. Let's get to Hajj memories, which has got me pretty weepy these past few days because it's something that goes straight to the heart. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to the program, Naira Abed.
Julie, thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you indeed for sharing your memories with us today.
Such beautiful memories. So it's
and
just
also
a
the book. Obviously, the book came about after your Hajj trip.
It did.
Now, let's start by asking who you are, where do you live, what do you do?
My name is Naira. I'm from Kinross. I'm at home because I've got 4 daughters.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, and at the moment I'm living down the road from my dad. He's lost my mum recently, so we're just like trying to occupy him and, you know, be with him.
How long ago was this?
It was on the 2nd of March this year.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I know that the pain must still be so raw for you.
It is. My mum was a big part of my life, so.
Mums are big parts
Yes.
of all of our lives. She was a huge part, she and your dad, in your going on Hajj. Tell us about that. How did they help you prepare for your journey?
Well, my mum, just by the person she was a very beautiful woman, very kind. She encouraged me. I found out I was pregnant just a mere 4 weeks before Hajj.
Oh.
And she pushed me. She said that if Allah put you in the situation, then He's going to help you through it. And she took care of my kids as well.
Whilst
So
you
she
were
was
gone.
a very big part of my Hajj. And my father's a very humble man. His Hajj, he tried to learn a lot about why we're commemorating these things when we do Hajj. He felt that if you learn about it, you sort of feel a love for it. If you
The
know
inner
why
dimensions.
you're doing it. Yes.
Okay.
And he taught me that. So there was a lot of preparation, and I had remembered snippets of when he prepared for Hajj as well. So they were a very big part. In fact, the book is dedicated to them.
How recently have you been on Hajj? Or how long ago did you go on Hajj?
I think it'll be 7 years this year.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's quite a while ago.
Right. Do you take out the book every year, just round about Hajj time, and go through the book and...
I do. You feel very nostalgic around this time of the year. But actually, it's quite befitting because this year I felt the most nostalgic. When I saw people leaving for Hajj and I was watching on ITV, I often found myself tearing because I just felt that need, like I wanted to be back there, you know. I wanted to be on the plains of Arafat. I wanted that feeling again.
Is
So
it because
was
you've
quite
lost your mum
befitting.
recently?
I
Do you think that
so.
is part of...
I think because I've lost my mum, I felt like I'll be closer to her there. And I felt like if I go there, it might help me, give me some inner peace, just to cope with losing her. I think that many women out there can relate to how I feel after losing my mum.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so...
And I say it again, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you sabr. It's not easy. You're going to have some good days, but some very bad days as well.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's what you have.
Let's talk about the actual Hajj.
Okay.
You arrive in the Holy Lands, and I presume, like all South Africans, we go to Medina first. And the first time you go into the Miqat, you go into the mosque, the feeling you had, and did it meet up with your expectations, the look and the feel of the Prophet's mosque?
Look, it was my first time. I hadn't been for Umrah before that, so it was basically my first visit. When I landed in Medina, I felt somewhat undeserving. I felt sinful. I kept on saying in my heart that, Ya Allah, you've brought me here, you've honored me with this visit. I'm standing in the land that was home to our beloved Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and I feel undeserving. And yet you've honored me. And the entire time I was in Medina, I kept feeling sadness. I kept thinking of the sacrifices of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and that brought tears to my eyes all the time. And I tried to take myself back in time and imagine the things that had happened there. And Medina is just beautiful and calm. When my eyes fell on the dome, I felt very lucky. I felt like such a sinful slave, yet I'm honored to be here.
I must tell you that I identify with those feelings because I've been saying it over and over again to all of my guests, or most of my guests, and I've expressed exactly that. Why
Really?
me? Allah, have you made a mistake? And I was
Yes.
admonished because of that. You know, I was told, don't ever say that. You know, just don't stop thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for choosing you, for sending the invitation
Yes.
to you. But I'm human,
You're
and that's what I
human.
was feeling, and I keep asking it. But at the same time, I've been filled with deep gratitude,
Gratitude, that's it,
that
yes.
even though we feel we are sinners, that Allah chose us to be in this
Yes.
amazing place.
That's how I felt. That's
Did you
exactly
manage
how I
to get to the Rauda, to the actual...
I did, and I had some of my husband's family around that were with me, and they helped me because I was very nauseous and feeling sick all the time. And when I got to pray and put my head down, I sort of just, I left everything, all the worries, and I thought, if somebody's going to push me or walk over me, I surrender.
It's part of Allah's plan
It's part
for
of
you.
Allah's plan, and I put my head down, and I was just at peace.
Was this with your last pregnancy? Or?
No, it's my third pregnancy. When
It
I
was
went
your
for
third
Hajj, I still
pregnancy.
had one more after that. Yeah.
Now, I understand that you were very sick whilst you were on Hajj. How did Habi and everyone else around you assist you?
Well, anyone who knows me knows that I have traumatic pregnancies.
Okay.
It's 9 months of torture for everyone around me as well. So initially I was a bit skeptical to go. And when I told my husband, he said that he would take care of me. He promised that he would be there.
Did
And
he?
Well, he couldn't have done a better job.
Alhamdulillah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept his Hajj and all his
Ameen.
efforts, but he did a fabulous job. In fact, towards the end of the 5 days, I was in a wheelchair because I think I was just so drained from throwing up everywhere and, dehydrated. So the last 2 days, I was in a wheelchair, and he managed. He did whatever he could.
And he pushed you around.
He pushed me around. And he constantly did these little things, like constantly came to check on me in the tent, ask around if I'm okay. He knew that I would have morning sickness, that I would be throwing up, that I wouldn't be able to eat or drink. So he kept on coming back to check on me in all the places.
Okay, we're still in Medina. We haven't arrived yet in Makkah. Did you manage to go on ziyarats?
We did, yes, I did. I found it very difficult because the heat is unbearable. So I had to keep on drinking water and, just rehydrate myself. But it was something I wanted to do. So I pushed myself, and yes, we did go on ziyarah.
People often say that when young couples leave children behind and they go on Hajj, there's almost like a tug, half your heart is back home, missing your children, possibly not worried about them because you know that you left them in the best of care, and the other half is here in the Holy Lands. Was it the same for you?
It was. When I left home, it was very difficult. It was a big step. At that time, I had my mother-in-law and father-in-law. Allah grant them the highest stages of Jannah. They were wonderful people. I knew that my kids had good support. And of course, my mom. My mom took my place. And so I had no concern as such, but I missed them terribly. When I was in Medina, I used to think of them often. Every time that I was emotional, I used to think back to my girls that were at home and to the unborn baby as well. So yes, you do leave a part of you at home, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps you. He helps you, He gives you a strength. You can never imagine that you can leave your children at home. You think in your heart that I won't cope. Yet He gives you the strength. When you leave the house, you know that I've surrendered. I've left them in the hands of Allah. I've left them, and it doesn't worry you again. You know that everything will be okay, whatever Allah wishes.
How do you feel talking about your Hajj with me sitting here now? Are you having pictures flashing through your mind?
Yes, I am. In fact, the preparation for this interview brought back so many memories, beautiful memories that certain things you tend to forget, certain things stay with you.
Absolutely.
But it's been an honor because it actually, for myself, it was like reliving the Hajj experience.
Alhamdulillah. I'm talking to Naira Abed. She's the author of this book, and I certainly am going to go home and start reading it. We have quite a number of these books on giveaway. All you need to do is call in, leave your name, and contact details with the producer, and we will pop these off to you as soon as we possibly can. We will continue this discussion after the ad break, and don't forget, later on in the program we will be talking to the people from Bitcoin. What on earth is Bitcoin? Well, stay tuned and you'll hear all about it. Right now it's Hajj Memories with Naira Abid. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We are talking Memories of Hajj with Naira Abid. She's also the author of this book. And if you'd like to get a couple of these copies, please call in, leave your details with our producers, and we'll pop these off to you as soon as we possibly can. Naira, now we've just done with Medina, and time for us to move on to Mecca. Is there anything else that stood out for you in Medina? You know, I would go to specific spot and just try and get a glimpse of the Green Dome, and just felt so close to our beloved Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
For me, I think it was the same, getting a glimpse of the Green Dome, just sitting and reminiscing and thinking where I am, you know. I felt very close to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, and all the companions. I wrote a lot of poetry in Medina. I had heard that the companions of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam wrote poetry as well, and it inspired me.
So you are a poet as well?
Yes, I started writing poetry around that time. And in Medina, I kept finding myself putting pen to paper, needing to just write. There were like these little snippets of paper everywhere, because I felt inspired there. And there was just such a beauty to the place that I kept on writing poetry while I was there.
Was the intention to turn it into a book when you got back home?
Not at that time.
Not
no.
at that time.
Not at that time.
I'm talking about you, and I'm talking about this journey of yours. You also mentioned how supportive your husband was for the last 2 days of your Hajj. He wheeled you around because you were so sick. What were his thoughts? And, you know, when you were going through all of this, did you verbalize anything at all to him? And how did he respond to you verbalizing your experience? We all have our own unique experiences. But, you know, how did he come together with you when you were busy verbalizing?
Well, anybody who knows me knows I have a big problem. I'm very verbal. So I constantly shared my feelings and thoughts. Still today, that's what I do. I share with him all my thoughts, my feelings. So I was very verbal right through. He knew where I was. He knew I was being inspired. He always pushed me to write, always. He thought it was fabulous. Till today, when I told him that I would like to write another book, he pushes me. He's a big inspiration for me. And I kept on verbalizing my thoughts, my feelings, and he was always supportive about it, always.
Did you have any challenges in Medina? I know you suffered from morning sickness, but apart from that, anything else that kind of made you question? And again, I say that we are human and we will question things around us. Was there anything you kind of said, I didn't expect it to be like this, or I'm a little disappointed at this aspect of my trip or my journey or my surroundings?
I have to be honest, Julie, up until that point, nothing like that.
Alhamdulillah.
Medina, I had no hiccups. Everything was going smoothly. I was trying to take care of myself. I had like a ritual. I would have morning sickness, drink Baraka Boost with Zamzam water, whatever I could do just to keep my energy. And at that point, I was doing fine. There were no hiccups. Medina was very peaceful. Nothing was going wrong at all.
And it's true when people say it's a very peaceful city. Definitely. I didn't understand that before I left. And when I got there, I couldn't believe it's almost as this calmness descends on you. But of course, you know, as we come to the end of our 10 days, we can't wait to get to Mecca.
Yes.
Little realizing
anticipation, I think,
what is in store for us.
Yes, definitely.
So, when you arrived in Mecca, what was the feeling? Did it live up to your expectations? Were you overwhelmed?
Yes. When I arrived in Mecca, the experience was not great, I'll be honest, because it was raining heavily. And,
which is very unusual.
It was unusual, and I was exhausted. And there was hustle and bustle in the city compared to Medina that was peaceful and quiet. It was different. It was totally different. People were not patient. They were all in a hurry. It was sort of like a city life.
And yet we are told before we leave, you take bags of
and
sabr
bags of
with you.
sabr. Well, that's when it came into good use. When I landed there, the taxi driver dropped us very far away from the hotel. And I had these, I mean, you know, our bags when we travel overseas, they are atrocious. So I had my bags, and my husband had to pull both the bags and take care of me and get me to the hotel. So initially, I think I was in shock. I thought, okay, you know what,
Culture
it was
shock.
going very smoothly up till now. Now I really don't know what to expect. That was until we got to the hotel, and then our agent had organized some food for us, and I will never forget that meal because I was famished, and we had a wonderful meal, and then it was time to perform Umrah.
So now you started your Umrah. You make your way from there. How far away were you from the Grand Mosque?
I was directly across. I think we stayed at the Hilton Hotel.
Okay, so you now walk across, you look at the Grand Mosque from the outside, the exterior.
Yes.
What did you feel? What was going through your mind?
Well, it was anticipation, definitely. I couldn't wait. I think my whole life was around that moment that I set my eyes on the Kaaba.
But before you got into the Kaaba, when you looked at the exterior
When I
of
looked
the
at the
Grand Mosque,
exterior, I kept thinking that with all the modern infrastructure and everything's changed, I struggled to sort of imagine what it was like, you know, many, many years ago, because now obviously it's ultra modern. I kept thinking it's very beautiful, and I was just in anticipation and following the lead.
you now enter and you set eyes on the Kaaba for the first time. What did you feel? What did you see? What was going through your mind?
Well, before I set eyes on the Kaaba, we walked through, we followed obviously a leader that would take us through. He told us on the outside not to look up, because we might get like little pieces of the Kaaba and it will ruin the experience of seeing it for the first time.
And I couldn't help. I had to just,
Yes,
don't tell me
well,
not to look up.
It's very difficult to not look, to be honest. It's very difficult. You look down and you don't even know how far you are, how many more steps
I
to
kept
get there.
looking up. I couldn't. I was so greedy to get
Yes,
as much as I could.
I felt like that. I held on to my husband and I carried on walking. It seemed like endless pillars, like just pillars and pillars. And I remember noticing shoe cubicles all over, like shoes and shoes. I remember that's all I saw. And we kept walking, and I knew I had entered the courtyard because the sound in my ears had changed. It was now, there was an echo, a very loud echo, and people were moving around. And I looked up, and there's nothing or nobody that can prepare you for that moment.
My heart skipped a beat, and as you speak, my heart has skipped a beat.
No, it was the beauty of the Kaaba had definitely captured my heart and soul. I fell to my knees, I lifted my hands in prayer, and I sobbed. It was the one time in my life that I couldn't hold back. I cried. I thought of my mum and dad, my in-laws, my sisters, my children, and I begged for forgiveness. And it was the most captivating moment of my life, the day I saw the Kaaba.
And I often think when you have to try and explain this to a non-Muslim, that you get so... You don't even have words to express the feeling when you set eyes on the Kaaba. It's a cubic structure covered in a black cloth. And non-Muslims must wonder, what's the big deal?
They would never
But you need to
yeah.
be Muslim to understand that feeling of exhilaration, of love that you've never felt for anything else in your life.
Definitely.
And this feeling of, it's surreal. Am I really here?
Am I really here? That's
Am
what
I really
thought.
here?
And the structure was a lot bigger than what I had expected. I was looking at it and crying and praying, and I kept thinking, wow, it's big. The Kaaba's big. It's not the way it looks in pictures.
I must share my sense. I thought it was much smaller.
Really?
I looked and thought, gee, was it so small? I was expecting it to be that much bigger.
Oh, okay. So everybody has a different experience.
And every time every time I went back again and again, and I just got more and more and more attached to it, to the point where I couldn't pull away.
You can't pull away. It's the most difficult thing. That was one of the most difficult things, to pull away from the Kaaba. I kept thinking, when will I come back? Like, will I be lucky enough to come back? Will I be honored again? That was a sad moment, definitely.
So that was all that was going through your
Yes.
mind. How much time did you spend in Mecca?
I think we spent about 7 nights in Mecca
Okay.
before we moved over here.
And now the day of Arafah, which is the actual day of Hajj. But before we get there, you were then, we were sent to Azizia.
Yeah.
How did you feel there? Did you feel cheated at all, being moved off to Azizia?
I think I needed the break. I
Okay.
needed to rest. I wasn't feeling very well. I was drained. I had picked up bronchitis as well. While I was there, because of the heat, I kept on using the spray bottle, and I filled it with cold water, and I kept spraying it on my face. And I think that gave me a very bad cough. And so I was quite drained. I used that time in Azizia to prepare myself for Hajj. And I needed the energy because the main part of Hajj was still to come. So I couldn't feel so drained. I needed to build up that strength again.
I kept questioning, why do we have to be moved to Azizia? And our agents told us that you need that time to reflect, you need that time to get strong,
And to prepare
rest, and to prepare for the 5 days, because they're very grueling. And over and above all of that, it's very, very expensive in Mecca, so you're not going to be able to stay on in Mecca.
Yes,
you
and
need
you have to
move.
think of that as well.
And I was a bit cross with them. And yet when I got to Azizia, I realized the wisdom in what they had said.
Yes, definitely. There was definitely wisdom in that. Also, I think for me, the crowds were becoming a bit overwhelming. I wasn't managing the tawaf very well. My husband was pushing me in a wheelchair as well. I think the crowds were a bit much. Like,
And
I
it
needed to
can
just be away, just so that when the 5 days of Hajj start, I feel that same enthusiasm that I felt when I left from here. I didn't want it to start where I felt drained and exhausted. So for me, Azizia was very good. It was good.
Let's talk, we've almost come to the end of the interview. Let's talk about the day of Arafah and the pelting of the shaitans.
Okay. The day of Arafat for me gave me a broader perspective. I looked around and, there's a famous saying that a king and slave shall stand shoulder to shoulder on the plains of Arafat. And that just told me that Allah doesn't discriminate between us. We were all the same. We were all equal. We all had one purpose. And the purpose was to gain forgiveness and closeness to your Lord. And that the day of Arafat gave me a much broader perspective. When you walk off the plains of Arafat, nobody can prepare you for that feeling. You feel lightness. You feel like you've left all your burdens behind you. You left everything that worries you. You left your sins. And you look forward to a better version of yourself, a better life, a better future. And nothing can prepare you for that.
And sleeping under 1,000 or 1,000,000 stars at Muzdalifah.
You know what? People tell you that you have the best sleep, but you don't ever expect it. You have the best sleep.
Absolutely.
I think you're just overtired maybe, but you have the best sleep. In Muzdalifah, I couldn't make it to a bathroom to throw up. My husband had to hold my burqa back, and I threw up somewhere in a bush, and then laid down on the floor and slept like a baby. It was the most amazing experience.
The stoning of the shaitans or the jamarats. Did you manage it?
I was quite funny at that point. My husband thought it was quite funny because I didn't know what to expect. People told me that you'll be afraid. I was not afraid. I was angry. Like, I kept thinking about my inner demons, or the things that I had done that I needed to repent for, or the things that shaitan had influenced me. And I pelted with all my heart.
I felt relief.
Yes.
I felt absolute relief.
Definitely.
Safa Marwa. What was that like for you, and what was going through your mind when you were doing your say?
Safa Marwa was initially a little bit disappointing because I'm very old-fashioned and I wanted to see mountains. I had been reading so many books. I wanted to feel like a mother that was running from mountain to mountain, just trying to save the life of my baby. And Safa Marwa has become very modernized. I mean, there was robots on the side to tell you when to walk and when not to walk. So that was a bit different for me, but I just went with it. Obviously, I hadn't been there before, so I just went with it. But it was a beautiful experience.
How has Hajj changed you and your husband? You've come back 7 years on. You've had a major loss in your life. Your mother just passed recently.
Yes, my husband lost his nephew, his sister's son,
Oh,
22
I'm so
years
sorry to
old.
hear.
Very tragic. So those things sort of, you know, they affect your lives. But after Hajj, you're stronger. You're stronger. You have a broader mind, and you realize that you need to submit to the will of Allah wholeheartedly. You need to realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides these things. Life is in His hands. And if He has decided, my mom taught me that if Allah decides, ultimately it's His decision. And you need to have sabr, and you need to learn to cope.
One of my previous guests on Monday, talking about his journey on Hajj, said for him, he's very pleased to see young couples and younger people committing to Hajj, because obviously you're like a newborn baby. You come back and you're having to restart on a new chapter in your life, and on a clean page, a clean slate, so to speak. Do you feel that has worked for you, and do you feel that it was the right time you went on Hajj?
If I had to advise anybody, I would definitely say perform Hajj early in life. Of course, put your whole heart into it, because Hajj is a farad that is not a farad again. So your first time is your farad. So obviously do your best. But at a young age, I definitely feel it was the best thing I did. And the book as well, it was to influence younger couples to say that you can do it. You can leave your life. You can change your circumstances. Leave your daily life. Leave the things that you focus on, from your kids to your home to your daily life, and change your focus. Focus on gaining closeness to Allah. And it's possible for any young couple.
And it's not a radical lifestyle change. No. It's just to make a little adjustments in your life to become more Muslim.
That's it.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Your closing thoughts for all the Muslims and Muslimas watching us this morning, and for the people in the Holy Lands performing their Hajj.
Well, those are the fortunate people that are there. Alhamdulillah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take us all back to the Holy Lands. Ameen. And perform your Hajj from the depths of your heart. Make the best of it, and realize that after that it's a nafil. Initially, it's your farad. Put your heart into it and submit. Whatever happens, go with it. Do not look at the little things that go wrong, because things will go wrong. Things will definitely go wrong.
And you're going to make lots of mistakes.
Yes, and everybody has a different test and a different type of Hajj. No two people have the same experience, but go with it.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you indeed for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Abira Abed from Kinross talking to us about her memories of Hajj, and you can still call in throughout the show for a copy of this book. Shukran for watching Memories of Hajj with Abira Abed. And next on the show is Bitcoin. What is it all about? Well, stay tuned and you will hear about it. And I beg your pardon, the name is Naira Abed. She's my guest on this part of the show. Stay with us. Marth. And we're into the final segment of the show this morning. We're going to be talking about cryptocurrency, all of that coming up in a minute or two. But thank you to all the callers. I understand from my producers that 40 of those books have been given away. Naira Abed came in with 40 of her books, and we've had more than 40 callers, so unfortunately they're all given away. Please, don't call in now because there aren't any books to give away. Those of you who have called in, we do hope that you enjoy the read by Naira Abed. Right now we have in studio Jacques Assassin, and I have been saying right from the beginning of the show that we're going to be talking about Bitcoin. He says we're talking cryptocurrency, so let's start unpacking all of that. Jean, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Before the interview started, I was already confused, and now you've come and confused me even more.
It's very normal because it's disruptive technology, and when there's massive confusion, people choose to ignore it, and people are hesitant for change.
When we talk Bitcoin, I was trying to understand what's it all about, but and I'm one of those old-fashioned people that like to feel, touch, taste, smell. And I get a sense that with Bitcoin, there's nothing tangible.
Okay, a lot of people feel that way. And the reason why they feel that way is they want to compare Bitcoin to what they are used to, which is fiat currency, the rands, the dollars, the pounds out there. And when you do that comparison, let's go back to the banking world. When you've got money in the bank, can you feel and touch it?
No, but I get a sense that's in a safe place, and I get my statement to affirm that.
Yeah, so that's exactly where your sense of security and stability comes from. Now, in the worlds of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin for that matter, you get the same bank accounts, which only hold cryptocurrency, only hold Bitcoin. And that same bank account has got a value and a total that belongs to you. And that is recorded in a public ledger internationally. So you have that value, and that value is interchangeable anywhere in the world.
That's Bitcoin.
That's Bitcoin. In fact, that's most cryptocurrencies today.
Mm-hmm. People have said to me that there isn't a face to put to Bitcoin, at least when I go to my local bank, whether it's Standard, FNB, whoever it is, there's kind of a face to, to the brand. Your tellers, your manager, there's a voice that you interact with if you're doing a telephone banking and so forth. Mm-hmm. Why would I want to invest with Bitcoin? How do I go investing with them? And what's in it for me, and how safe is my investment?
Sure, that's a lot of questions in a row. If we go back to a face to it, where traditionally money is not really the bank that's the face to it, you could say it's the government that's the face, it's the Central Reserve Bank that prints the money, those are the faces to it. You've got several banks that are just a service provider, at best, I would say, with respect.
I'm referring to my bank manager here.
You're talking to your bank manager. Now, when you go to a Bitcoin service provider, you have got someone over there that is also giving you a service which also controls those banks of Bitcoin, of other cryptocurrencies.
You do have service providers.
Certainly you do. The thing is that the technology behind it is, if you want to put a face to it, the face is the community. The public are and is the face of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. It's the people's community, peer-to-peer transactions that actually controls the Bitcoin and the supply. So the other questions you were asking is, is it safe? I'm not one that likes to sugarcoat things. I think that in any asset that you go and buy, which Bitcoin is in our country, in South Africa, it's classified as a legal asset, that there is risk versus reward. And there are risks because you can't tell me what's going to happen with Bitcoin. And I can't tell you, and for that matter, I can't tell you what's going to happen with other cryptocurrencies. But, in the same breath, I don't think I can tell you what's going to happen with the Rand. We've had problems that the Rand has been downgraded and that our bonds have been downgraded to junk status. There are talks that it could be happening as close as the end of the year again. Where is our Rand leading to? Governments that control the money supply, they're governments that have failed. I don't want to say that the governments out there like Zimbabwe, for argument's sakes, that are in turmoil, and they're working hard to get their infrastructure and stability back to their public and to their nation, and there are lots of other countries that have also failed, and there are talks. It's not me. I'm not the professional in this trade with talking about fiat currency and banks and so on, but there are talks that fiat currency is under pressure internationally.
When you look at currency, it's always been tied to gold.
Yes.
Right. What is Bitcoin tied to?
Well, you see, that is actually something that is a perception out there, and the perception is actually not the truth. There is no...
What are you saying to me?
Let me explain to you. There are just about no fiat currencies. I keep saying fiat currencies. These are the rands, the dollars that are controlled by central banks and governments, that have actually a physical asset backing them. There was a time where it was the gold, and the South African rand, when it was at its strongest, was backed by gold. There was a time where we were stronger than the dollar. Those times have changed because what did we do? We actually followed what the United States did. They went and said, well, let's take away the asset base and let's rather do it on projections and loan base.
Oh.
And we and the rest of the world thought it was a great idea, and everyone followed suit. And what happened is, when you do projections and think what you're going to be making as a country, and you don't quite do it, you battle to pay your loans back. And on that very note, something was introduced into all people's lives, which was called inflation. And now currencies suffer from inflation, and cryptocurrencies, for that matter, suffer from something called deflation, where the rand is maybe depreciating in value and getting less and less purchasing power. We have got cryptocurrencies that keep appreciating in value. I mean, cryptocurrencies were released in 2009 at less than 10 cents to the dollar. And, you know, I spoke 2 weeks ago on stage, as you know, then it was knocking on $4,000 odd, and now we are sitting at $4,600 for one Bitcoin.
How does one go about investing in Bitcoin? What's it going to cost me? And how do I get the ball rolling?
Well, you see, that's a very good question, because a lot of people have got no idea. And what a lot of people do is they think that they must now go and search on the internet and say, Google, how do I get Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin mining? And unfortunately, what happens is, because this is such disruptive technology, you see a lot of people that have maybe unscrupulous companies that don't have very good intentions, maybe don't have the greatest core values, are actually out there to scam people. And people throw their money into the internet to people where they don't know who the owners are, they don't know if they are reputable companies, they don't know if those companies have got sustainable growth strategies, what security measures they got in place. And that's where I step in, and that's where my current passion in business, for that matter, is to spread and share with people how they can get onto safe havens, where you've got the largest mining farms which have got real equipment. So if you were to take some of your hard-earned money and hedge it into cryptocurrency, and for that matter go and hedge it into mining equipment, which is another whole thing I'd have to explain to you as well, you got to make sure that you can trust the company that you're with, and that you're going to have a good reward on your asset that you buy. And I talk about asset because you're buying computer equipment, and computer equipment is what's going to be sustaining the blockchain technology. And that is the actual kicker here, blockchain technology.
So it's really like buying shares, obviously.
Yes and no. It's not actually like buying shares, because we are not an investment company. When you go and buy Bitcoin, you're not buying shares, you're buying value.
All right.
You're buying
Explain.
an asset, you're buying a commodity. Mm-hmm. And that commodity can appreciate or depreciate in value. So when you get hold of it, there's a couple of ways you can make money. And let's talk about Bitcoin, but I mean all cryptocurrencies for that matter. You can buy the cryptocurrency and you can just hold it. And that is a long-term strategy where you buy low, sell high, and
like
you want
a
to make money.
savings, so to speak.
It's like long-term saving. Mm-hmm. Other ways is that you go and buy it, and because Bitcoin is volatile and it's got ups and downs, and you can trade as much as 20% up and down in a day, it's quite scary for traditional investors or brokers, because they say, well, they can't manage that risk. I mean, the technology, the technical analysis behind it is actually immature. So for you to try and do puts and calls and stuff with that, you could line yourself up to make very quick, easy money, or you could lose it all very quickly. So, you know, I don't like to tell people that they should be trading with cryptocurrency. Not that you can make good money in it. I've traded for 9 years on commodities, and you don't get much sleep. You have to be on top of the ball, on top of the news, and reading the markets the whole time to get the right calls. So to me personally, a more sustainable approach is to actually go and get the equipment that makes this cryptocurrency. Where does this cryptocurrency come from? Who releases it into the economy?
Okay, hold that thought. You're going to explain all of that to us right after the ad break.
Excellent.
I'm not sure if I understand anything at all what Jacques has said, but hopefully after the ad break, he's going to try and break it down for us to make us understand exactly what cryptocurrency is, and is it worth the risk to invest in Bitcoin. We'll hear all about that right after the ad break. And if you have any questions or comments, do call us on the open line. We're talking to Jacques Sasson about cryptocurrency, and of course in South Africa we loosely refer to it as Bitcoin. It is known as Bitcoin. What exactly is Bitcoin? Can you trade with it as you trade with other money, or do you kind of just use it as a savings? How does it work? What is your return? Is it safe enough? Is there a face behind Bitcoin? All of those questions to you, Jacques.
I like the way you ask so string of questions in a row. Look, I think it's important for people to understand that they need to do some of their own due diligence a little, and they have to do a little bit of their own research, and to try and explain it in a very short space of time is quite a daunting task from me. I generally take an hour, hour and a half to lecture in front of groups of people that come and want to learn about cryptocurrency and how it can benefit them. And that's what I'm passionate about.
And this definitely is not some sort of a Ponzi or pyramid scheme.
No, because if it was a pyramid or Ponzi scheme, then I'd be involved with something illegal. And, you know, the wealth that I've accumulated through my life and the friendships and business colleagues that I've connected with, I would hate to lead them down troubled waters.
Do you think this is more appealing and understandable to all, to younger people, because they're so techno savvy, and people like myself and older than me would never buy into something like this because it just kind of goes over our heads?
I think it's a double-barrel answer, because yes, the millennials are very pro-technology because the world is evolving. But you know what? Even people that are more mature have realized that technology's moved on. There was a time when I was even nervous when I was growing up, saying, you know, do I ever actually have to know how to use a computer? Myself, and I'm only 43. And I can just imagine people older than me must have had even a bigger phobia. And when you look at cell phones, there was a time when this first cell phone came out and people thought, they don't think they can ever use a cell phone, you know, landline. That's always worked. Why should we adopt cell phone technology? Now South Africa is the highest capita per person owner of cell phones in the world. Mm-hmm. And there was a stage where the postal services said, no, the email's not going to work. We're sitting in a time and space where people are saying that money is changing and it's evolving, and the technology behind it is disruptive. And is this a case of adapt or die? And I personally feel that cryptocurrency is the future of money in our planet, and that people need to start researching and studying and starting to come to terms with it. And I've got many people in my team already that are much older than the two of us, that have taken pension funds, that have actually hedged it into cryptocurrency for that reason of saying, well, what do they do with their money now? Most people just want to take their hard-earned money, most people, and they just want it to work for them in a safe and trusted environment where it can grow faster than tax and inflation. That is what most people want. We can show people how they can achieve that by mitigating their risk, because there is always risk in anything. And imagine you can go and help a person get passive and residual income through training and educating them. We're not in the convincing game. We're here to educate a person to make an informed decision. So even a person like yourself that is all nervous, doesn't understand anything, can get the reassurance that there's someone that will take you by the hand and show you how to do it. And that is what we teach to our teams, and that is what our teams are doing there. So we are sitting in the front of a tsunami about to hit South Africa. It's already hitting South Africa and spreading through the world.
All right, will you hold that call? I've got a gazillion other questions. I'm not sure if we're going to answer them all, but let's take a call. Assalamu alaikum to you, welcome. Caller, you're online, please go ahead. Okay, the caller has probably got cold feet. Can you physically trade with Bitcoin? Can I, like I take my 10,000 rands, draw the money from the bank and go and buy furniture or other consumables?
Most certainly. There is nothing.
What does it look like?
There's nothing that you cannot buy with Bitcoin today. That's how real it is. And if the person and the service provider you're going to accepts Bitcoin, you can just transfer Bitcoin to them. If they don't accept Bitcoin, then we go through other means. Now, what do you think other means would be? Imagine a Visa accredited or a MasterCard accredited debit card that only has Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in it. And all you do is you put it in an ATM and you draw cash.
Do you have these ATMs already in place, or are
They
you working
are
towards
normal
it?
ATMs.
Okay.
ATMs in South Africa.
Right.
You put your Visa credit. Remember, Visa accredited means you can use it anywhere. You can go to any merchant and swipe your card, and then there'll be a transactional fee of just converting your Bitcoin to that fiat currency. So, you know, the Visas and the MasterCards are doing those transactions behind the scene. Why would the likes of Visa and MasterCard raise their hand and say they want cryptocurrency? Why are they prepared to exchange their fiat currency to cryptocurrency? Why are they accumulating cryptocurrency? I think they're a little bit cleverer than you and I sitting here. Maybe they know a bigger plan and what's happening down there. I mean, that's the amazing thing about it.
How are the other finance houses responding to you and to Bitcoin?
Well, most banks have already, I feel, even in South Africa, gone and hired people that they say are their blockchain technicians. So they are researching how this must be integrated in the banking worlds, and they are finding out ways how they can use this technology to speed up their own services, to make their own services more affordable, because if they don't, they could find themselves facing extinction. And this is something, and I don't want to threaten anyone out there. It's not me that's made the technology, but it is me in South Africa per se that is marketing and advocating it. And I'll continue to do that because I believe so many people can be helped. You sit with some money in the bank. I'm not saying take all of it.
What sort of returns can one expect? With about a minute to go to wrap up time.
As a company, our company is Lifestyle Galaxy. And in our company, we don't like to market ridiculous figures and say these 10, 20, 30%, which some of the places on the internet do say. We talk of a figure of up to 5%, which means it could be lower than 5%. But historically, we have way overperformed than what we have promised.
All right, with a half a minute to go, where and how do I find a Bitcoin office to go and get more information or to go and invest my money with?
Well, if you Google Bitcoin, you're going to find a whole lot of places. I'd rather go to a trusted platform, to a wealth strategist, to someone that you can trust. I mean, go to my webpage. That's jacquessasson.co.za, and you will be able to make contact with me, and then go to a local presentation. We'll be at the Wanderers tonight at 7 o'clock presenting for an hour and a half in front of 100+ people on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
Jacques, we've run out of time and I think we've only just scratched the surface.
Correct.
I think I'm going to do a little more homework and get you back in here to get a better understanding of what exactly cryptocurrency and Bitcoin is. So you'll be expecting a call from us soon. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Look forward to it. Thank
Okay,
you.
so if you haven't quite gotten to grips with what Jacques has been saying this morning, not to worry. I too am trying to get my head around it, and we'll have him back again sometime soon to give us a proper presentation with possibly overhead slides and so forth, so as to give us a better understanding of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. That brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for being with me till Saturday morning at the same time. As always, loved your company. Take care and have a wonderful Eid al-Adha on Friday. And it is wassalam from me, Julie Alli.
Ya hala, ya hala, ya hala. حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا، حن قلبي على جمعة الخير.